Hello, this is Elliot Williams. I'm joined here today by Captain Benjamin Williams for the Tucson Fire Department. We're going to be talking today about his experiences in that role and talking about how his leadership style has influenced his decisions and behaviors. So, Mr. Williams, would you please introduce yourself to us real quick?
Hi, my name is Ben Williams. I'm a captain with the Tucson Fire Department. I've been a captain for 19 years, and I've been on the fire department for 26 years.
26 years, that's a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
It is a long time.
What would you say has been one of the most fulfilling aspects of your job up to this point?
As far as being a captain, I think one of the most fulfilling aspects is my ability to have an influence on how things are run kind of day to day at the fire station. Before I became a captain, I had an idea of what I thought should be done as far as leadership and decision-making things are concerned. And so when I got promoted, I was able to put those things into practice.
Fantastic. And how long have you been a captain for the Tucson Fire Department?
19 years.
19 years. Okay. What were your roles before that?
I was a paramedic, and I'm still a paramedic. And then I was a firefighter before that.
Awesome. Okay, Mr. Williams, could you please talk to us about what you believe was your greatest achievement in your time as being captain, whether or not that's achieving the role of captain, when that happened, and the people and other situational factors that kind of influenced that event? It's a kind of broad question.
Yeah,
we can take care of it.
One more time?
Yeah. Let's just start off with what you think your greatest career achievement has been. Is there like a high point that sticks out to you? Doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest achievement, so that you don't have to, think too hard about that. But what's one of your greatest achievements being a captain for the fire department?
I think the greatest achievement wasn't necessarily a one situation event.
Okay.
It came at a point when I became comfortable with things that I was doing and the decisions I was making. And I can't really put a finger on the date, like when that happened, but that was probably one of my biggest achievements.
It was just kind of an aha moment where things started to click. You're kind of like, you kind of switched from the learning portion of it to kind of like the actual implementation of your role.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
As long as you can say that, yeah, I'm always learning and I'm still always making mistakes and trying to become better and correct myself.
Right,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, there is a breakover moment, and that was nice.
Awesome. That's cool. What were some situations, do you have any situations in mind where you kind of noticed that transition, whereas like you're less of a learning role and now you're actually starting to execute with confidence what you've learned?
I think the stress level decreased a lot when that occurred. And I didn't even really, like I say, notice it like at one time, but it was a
gradual change.
I noticed myself being more relaxed and being more comfortable with things that I was doing.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Thank you. Could you provide a little bit more detail about the people that kind of made that happen? Like, were there any specific people that poured into you to get you to that point, or were there any specific decisions you made to actually get to that point of less being comfortable?
I do remember I had a few really great chiefs over me who supervised me and who were my leaders, and I was able to take some situations that were presented with them and learn from them. I remember screwing up really bad, not like super bad, but like somebody filed a complaint, and it was a legitimate complaint against against me. And the chief came to me, and he had done research, and he had looked into everything. And he's like, I have this complaint. Can you read over this and let me know what you think? And I looked over it, and everything that the person had said was correct. And I was like, everything they're saying is right. I screwed up completely. And he's like, okay, well, thank you for
Taking ownership of that?
taking ownership.
Yeah.
And let's not do it again.
Okay.
And just the way the discipline occurred, he wasn't angry, and you don't have to be angry to do discipline.
Right.
It is, most of the time, it's bringing it to people's attention.
Gotcha.
And then that's usually all it takes, especially when you're working with really great people. Every once in a while, you forget that rule, and
Right.
you go right to nuclear,
Nuclear energy
DEFCON
levels.
1,
Right.
and,
Right. Just blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, and you screw up.
Right.
But for the most part, I always try to think about how he would handle things. Chief Lopez. And,
Chief Lopez.
it was, yeah. I looked up to his leadership style and how he handled things.
Very nice. So when you're trying to be like Chief Lopez, do you find yourself implementing any specific like management principles or strategies in your day-to-day role?
Yeah, I've looked into that before, and I've kind of read about different leadership styles, and I tried to figure out what I look like from the outside looking in.
Right.
And I believe I have a coaching leadership style.
Okay. Yeah. So you'd say that's more relationship oriented?
It is, and that can be good and bad. The day-to-day operations, it's very nice. I can usually just coach people,
Right.
and things go how they're supposed to go. Where that becomes a problem, though, is when there is someone that needs much more direction, and as a coach, you're kind of trying to push them along into where they should be. And sometimes you push and you don't see any change. And that's when it becomes difficult to be a coaching type of leader, because then you have to kind of up your game a little bit.
Right.
And
It shifts
do
from
some
more
work.
relationship oriented to more of a task or performance.
Yeah, more of a disciplinarian dictator rule, because it's like, okay, look, I've tried to get you to do this, I've tried to do this,
Right.
and show you this, but then you, have
Because
to actually,
the fire department has a lot of structure there, like standards that need to be adhered to.
yes.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for that. Let's now talk about a little bit of the management characteristics specifically. I'm going to ask you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 about a couple management characteristics, and then we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail afterwards.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about any of the characteristics we talk about, just ask me. I'll clarify it for you.
Okay.
So the first one is listening, and not just listening with your ears, but actually comprehending and being active in how you listen. How do you rate yourself on 1 to 5?
I would say 4.
4? Okay. Cool. Empathy.
I would also say 4.
4. Okay. And then awareness. And that's about yourself, not necessarily like situational awareness, but like what are your strengths, weaknesses?
I'll say 3.
3? Okay, gotcha. And then persuasion. How persuasive would you say you are?
I guess that would depend on different situations.
True.
I'll say a 3 also.
A 3?
I recently had someone point out to me that when I talk to people about things, out to them, but I guess I end my thoughts or my speech with, it's just a thought, think about it.
Right, right.
Think it over. And he said, you always say, just a thought, like you don't want to be confrontational, so it's just something you throw out there. That can be good in a coaching role, but
yes.
when it comes to being more of that hammer that has to come down, that makes it a little more difficult, because I'm used to people kind of just doing what I'm encouraging them to do.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, thank you for that explanation. How about the characteristic of conceptualization? Just being able to think things over in your head, kind of get a big picture view of how what you're doing affects the rest of the unit.
I would also say 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
I struggle with focusing on tasks, because it's something I'm working on, but I like to get my hands dirty, and I like to do things. And sometimes when I find people not doing things the way I would do, I want to jump in and do things to try to make the situation better.
Right.
But that's really not what my role should be. My role should be to stand back and look at everything else that's going on.
Gotcha.
So,
and that also provides them an opportunity to grow themselves.
Correct. And make mistakes. And yes. And I've noticed that, and I realized that a few years ago, actually, and I've been trying to work on that. So
nice.
That's
okay. I think we might have alluded to this characteristic a couple times, but what about foresight? As in just your ability to kind of foresee like future outcomes based on past experience.
Yeah, I'll say a 4 on that one. Which is why I encourage people to behave or to do certain things.
Right.
And there's so many things in the background that you have to think of as a leader, as far as safety goes, as far as even legal issues, like thinking down the line. If I do this, or if I allow my crew to do this, or if my crew does this and I don't know about it, but I should have known about it, there are so many ramifications that can come from me not doing something and making a difference in what those actions will be in the future.
Right.
That it's pretty important that I have foresight.
Yeah, especially as a public safety role.
Right.
Overall. Okay, awesome. And now we have stewardship. So this might be something you're familiar with from, just our religion of Christianity.
Church.
And, how God calls us to be responsible with the resources we have. How do you say you are with being responsible with the resources you have?
I would also say 4.
4? Okay.
I try to think about that all the time. And fortunately, the people that I work with are very motivated to do their job. So I think they're also thinking about that. And that makes my job easy when I don't have to always be supervising that aspect of the job.
Right. Awesome. Okay, next we have commitment to the growth of people. Sounds like this has been kind of a common theme of our past characteristics we talked about. Just you trying to help people to get to a place they need to be.
Yeah, I would say that might even be one of my better qualities. Maybe 5.
5? Yep.
4 or 5.
And then interest in building community. Not necessarily on an individual level, but how important is it that the shift you're working with has good cohesion or just is on good terms with each other?
That is That's very important. And I would also rate myself very high with that.
Okay.
I would say a 5.
A 5.
I've had situations where I've had to discipline people, and they did not necessarily agree with the discipline and had been very, let's say, upset with the way I handled things. And I probably could have handled things in a different way, maybe a better way in hindsight. But I made it a point to make sure that it didn't matter what they thought. I was still going to treat them with respect and with compassion and with help. And that comes back to the Christian value thing.
Right.
And that's the only way I could have done it. But it made a huge difference in the whole crew continuity. And that person actually, their attitude ended up changing towards me.
Very nice.
And it's been actually pleasant.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay, so out of those characteristics we just talked about, I'll list them off again if you want. We're gonna ask which one of those characteristics was most influential in your realization of getting to that point where you realize you're comfortable, less stressed, and just found yourself effective as a leader, if that makes sense. So the characteristics we went over were listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to the growth of people, and interest in building community.
I think awareness.
Awareness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Probably awareness.
Fantastic. And why would you choose awareness as the most influential?
Because you have to kind of be you have to examine yourself every day.
Mm-hmm.
Good days and bad days. And a lot of times the examination comes after something happens, whether good or bad.
Right.
And then figure out what you need to do to make a change, to make it better the next time.
Right, right. I've also heard people say, like, the best way to improve yourself is wake up and identify a small way how you can be better than you were yesterday.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
I don't necessarily put it in a box like that.
Right,
but
right. It's just kind
like
of a
good
similar
recommendation.
mindset, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so this next section we're going to talk about addresses a significant challenge, preferably with one that deals with an ethical dilemma. And that's basically when you had an opportunity or a choice that you faced where there was a decision you believed was wrong, but advantageous in the short term. And the other choice was what you would be more comfortable with calling right or moral. So yeah, is there a situation that comes to mind that was really challenging for you ethically?
Yes, there are a few. Driving in the fire engine, late afternoon, early evening. We're in a lower income area of town, and my engineer hits the mirror on the side of a car that was parked in a fire lane.
Okay, so now let's shift to a different discussion about a significant challenge you may have faced in your career, preferably one with an ethical dilemma, and how you faced that challenge, what sort of characteristics were shown, how did you handle that, and what was the outcome?
So there was a situation where my engineer hit a rear view mirror, or not a rear view mirror, yeah, a side mirror on a car.
The engineer being the person who drives the truck?
Drives the truck.
Okay.
Yep. It was very small. Mobile home park. Cars were parked really close to each other and into the street. And we could have just left, and nobody would have known that we hit the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But it just wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
So he kept wanting to not report it, because when you report it, I would have had to write him up, and it would have, been on his record that he hit a non-moving object, and it wouldn't have looked good for him in the future, possibly.
So
and
there wasn't necessarily just the honesty aspect at stake, but like there would be a record being kept for your engineer.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
And you got to understand, my engineer and I, we've been working together for the past, 9 months together in this situation.
Right.
And so, you become close, and, his family, he knows your family. So there's that aspect of doing the right thing, even though it's very difficult to do.
Right.
So,
especially when there's social familiarity between you two, there's like that rapport between you.
Right.
And you don't know who owns the mobile home even.
Yeah, or the car. It was
Yeah.
a car. Yep. In the mobile, where the person lives.
Right.
And so there were 2 firefighters that we were working together also that we didn't normally work with. But I took them out of the truck, and I took them around to the front of the bumper and out of earshot of the firefighters so that we could talk. And I'm like, look, this is just how it's going to have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And another part of that, though, is when things are done and they're done incorrectly, they get found out.
Yeah.
Especially in the type of work, like either military work or paramilitary, like the fire department.
Right.
Somebody talks.
Yep, that's true.
It's never quiet.
And especially in this situation when you had 2 extra people who saw it.
Exactly.
Word's going to get out somehow,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But beyond that, let's say it didn't.
Right.
Right. Let's say nobody was with us.
Right.
We could have kept it a secret between us two. It sets a precedent now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of, hey, where's my price?
Yeah.
Am I going to? Is this worth my price? This little thing on my record that will probably go away in a year. Things go through, and they're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
you've been good for a year. You haven't done any more damage. We're just, this is going to be off your record type of thing.
Right.
What's it worth?
Yeah, that's true. Because then people are going to wonder, can I convince Captain Williams
to do something else?
Do something else. Yeah, exactly.
A little bit worse.
Like,
where's the line?
Yeah. Where's the line?
Then you have to start wondering, where's your line yourself?
Yeah. Very important when it comes to your integrity.
Right.
So in that situation, here's a list of those characteristics we talked about earlier. Would you say there's one of them that stuck out specifically as very applicable in this situation, as to whether or not you were really leaning on your awareness of self, or your empathy for your engineer, or just listening to the other 2 firemen, or just having the foresight for that situation?
Maybe empathy.
Empathy.
But not necessarily for my engineer, but for the person whose mirror and car that we ruined.
Right.
So, wanting to make it right for that person.
Right.
Not just...
that was the deciding factor.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the many, right?
One of the many. Yeah, that's true.
You could look
That's
into
true.
a lot of these things here. The stewardship, even for, taking care of the community.
Right.
How are we going to take care of the community if we don't treat them right?
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a good one. Yep.
And commitment to growth
thoughts.
in people. I'm sure my engineer grew by doing what we did.
Right. That's awesome.
So,
Okay.
just a little something.
So, one last topic of conversation to cover is the overall mission, vision, and values of the Tucson Fire Department as an organization. What would you say is the mission, vision, and the strategy of the organization? Want me to elaborate on that a little bit more? Or?
Well, we actually have a mission statement.
Yeah.
So you want me to say what this is?
Okay, so now talking about Tucson Fire Department's mission, vision, and values, what would you say the mission of the Tucson Fire Department is?
Well, we actually have an official mission statement, and that is that the mission of the Tucson Fire Department is to protect the lives and property of the citizens of Tucson from natural and man-made hazards and acute medical emergencies through prevention, education, and active intervention.
Awesome. That's a great mission statement. Very specific, very relevant to the city of Tucson specifically too as well. Do y'all have a vision or strategy for Tucson Fire Department?
Well, when I was in the academy, it was really drilled into our brains that there's no honor in putting out a fire that could have been prevented. So we do a lot in fire prevention services and education with elementary kids and community awareness in order to try to prevent accidents and health issues before they actually ever take place.
Gotcha. So you would say a couple of the values TFD has would be prevention and awareness. Does that sound accurate based on what you said?
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
Yes. So one of the things we're also doing is we're helping homeless people. We're trying to be on the front end of helping people who are homeless in order to prevent them from having issues where they need to call us.
Right. Are they a pretty big clientele for you?
They are.
They are.
A lot of drug use.
Drug use.
So we will actually hand out Narcan to people that we go to who have overdosed on drugs and hand that out to their family so that they can possibly be the first line of defense in helping that person if they ever overdose again.
Very nice. Very nice. So you actually are a little bit of an entrepreneur. You've had a couple of your own business ventures in the past. We don't necessarily need to get into those, but you've established an LLC and gone through those sort of experiences. So you kind of know what like the entrepreneurial mindset is, kind of to take risks and be open to new experiences and take new opportunities. This next question deals with that. It says, how essential is the entrepreneurial mindset in achieving the mission, vision, and strategy of Tucson Fire Department?
So there are a lot of entrepreneurs on the Tucson Fire Department who actually come up with ideas and present them in a way where the department will actually try them out and even implement them. We've had one gentleman who created a cart, like a dolly, to put stretchers on so that it takes less people to carry an injured person in case of a mass casualty incident. And we've had firefighters develop and market radio clips for new radios that we've gotten because the radio clips that came with the radio would not fit into our radio chargers.
Wow.
So he developed a new radio clip. And there are always new ideas in training of ways we can
either load hose better or pull hose better, or different fire tactics that we can take to attack fires and keep people safe.
Right.
So
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And all that was done from the inside, huh?
From the inside.
That's great. That's great. So you would say adopting change. Would you say that's really important? Like just being open
Yes.
to change?
That's super important to be open to change. Unfortunately, the fire service is known as being very resistant to change and holding on to a lot of traditions.
Right.
So I think it's important to have traditions, but when it comes to safety and other things like that, you need to be able to look at yourself and say, what can we change to, stop hurting firefighters? And
right.
take a look at the things we've done in the past just because we've always done them that way. And I think that's something that the fire department is still striving to overcome.
Gotcha. Would you say that's more of a bureaucratic issue, or is it a problem that's just kind of just occupationally, like fire safety is something that's going to be hard to change?
I think it's something in the fire service in general, not just Tucson Fire, but across the United States. There's a way we've always done things, and that's the way we're always going to do things.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about a couple characteristics of an entrepreneurial mindset. And we're going to do another one of those sections where you rate yourself from 1 to 5 on these characteristics. So again, let me know if you need those characteristics explained a little bit more. The first one, we have need for achievement.
What about need for achievement?
How much would you say you need achievement to feel successful, or to just reach actualization where you're at?
I find that's very important to me. I'm always striving to achieve things.
Because it could be for yourself. It's not necessarily recognized
within the fire department.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to necessarily be recognized, but like achievement for yourself or others.
Right.
I kind of phrase that.
I think that's very important to me. And there's not a lot that I can point to, like in the fire service, where I've tried to achieve great things there.
Right.
Other than, promoting to captain and doing those types of things. But in my daily life achievement, I find that I strive to try to achieve things. Gotcha.
There you go. Nice. And there are small achievements too, not necessarily just promotions.
Sure.
So how would you say you rate yourself on that?
1 to 5?
1 to 5, yes.
I would say 5. It's very important to me.
Okay, very nice. How about openness to experience?
5.
5. There you go. Innovation and creative ability.
5.
5. Yep. Is that really important in TFD specifically?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
TFD specifically.
Gotcha. Just for you, like as a captain?
Sure.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Risk propensity. This is an interesting one.
Yeah, especially in my line of work.
Yeah.
I would say it would have to be low if you're talking about the fire service.
Right.
Risk is something, we risk a lot to save a lot, and we risk little to save little. So we have to rely on our training, and all of our training is based on the risks that are involved in our job.
Right.
So we have training to overcome the risks that are associated with it.
Gotcha.
People say that I would never run into a burning building. Well, yeah, because you're not wearing the air packs and equipment and everything and know kind of what you're doing. But
that's true. That's true.
If you went through our training, maybe you would change your mind about that.
Yeah, you do have unique experience that equips you for that that scenario. Okay, so how about proactivity and work ethic?
That comes back to prevention, and we're proactive in preventing fires and helping out with smoke alarms and things like that. So that's also going to be very high on the list of things that we want to accomplish.
Very nice. And then how would you say, this is an interesting concept, entrepreneurial self-efficacy is used in your line of work. And self-efficacy, that basically just refers to a person's confidence in their ability to do a specific task. So a person with high self-efficacy would think, I am able to do this task 100%. Whereas a person with low self-efficacy would probably be like, well, I'm not sure I necessarily have the skills or ability to do this.
I would say 5.
5.
But I think the fire department personality, at least when I came on the job, those types of personalities are the people who were kind of attracted to the fire service.
Right.
People who had that, I don't want to say ego, but confidence in their ability to perform certain things and do things and achieve things. Is that what you mean by that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So you'd say that's probably a 5 for being a captain.
Also.
Okay. Gotcha. And then this next characteristic is also more unique. It's called having an internal locus of control. And that basically means when you talk about somebody's locus of control, you're talking about their belief in whether or not their outcomes are based off of their own actions or external actions. So a person with an external locus of control would believe more in luck. So like if they take a test and they fail, they're like, oh, I was just unlucky. Whereas a person with an internal locus of control, if they failed the test, they would attribute that to internal factors and say, oh, I suppose I didn't study enough. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you say having an internal locus of control is important to being a captain?
5.
5.
Sure. So can I take a look at that, or can you read that again to me?
Of course.
See here.
Yeah. So having an internal locus of control is the belief that you control your own destiny, you're responsible for your actions, and that
The
external forces have
very little influence. Absolutely. You're going to strive to do as much as you can and hold yourself accountable when you fail, if you do fail, and realize that it wasn't necessarily external forces that influenced your outcome, but it was your own actions, whether you fail or succeed.
Gotcha. All right, just a couple more questions before finishing up here. Apart from servant leadership and the entrepreneurial mindset, what would you say are 2 significant lessons or attributes that are essential for success in your area?
Humility and empathy.
Empathy.
Goes back to that other one. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in thinking that you know everything and you can do everything. But as you grow and learn, the more you learn, the more humble you are in realizing that you start to rely on your crew a lot more. You start to rely on other people. You start to realize you can't do everything. And even the actions that you do take, sometimes the outcome is still not what you want.
Right.
And empathy, as far as understanding people and their needs and desires, and even seeing your own failures and knowing of your own situations and being able to look at other people and have grace in the situation that they're in or the things that they do just being able to empathize with them and understand their situation is helpful.
Very good. Thank you for that. And then last question is there anything that you wish you would have avoided that may have held you back from where you're at today? It's a very broad question, but like, is there something that you think you could have done better, or something that happened that was outside of your control?
Possibly if I would have started earlier in my career, maybe as a younger man, knowing about the fire department. I got on fairly late when I was 29 years old. So maybe starting a little earlier, that might have been a little more helpful.
There you go. Yep. So you were kind of like the old man in the academy.
Yes. Yep. Fortunately, there were older ones, but yes, I was older.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, great. It has been a pleasure talking to you about all this and what you've had to say about, just leadership characteristics in the Tucson Fire Department has been really fascinating and really just great topic of discussion for, this class and for life experience in general. And I really thank you for sharing that with me.
Thanks, Elliot.
Of course.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yep.